Chapter 11. Chapter 11 is about, or concerns itself with, the most difficult activity, I think, that humans and organizations for sure engage in, and that's communication. This is incredibly difficult to do well. For those of you that are married, significant others, parents, brothers, sisters, whatever it might be, and especially the married ones, though. It's this person supposedly you knew everything about, you got married and all was bliss, right? You'd never have a miscommunication. How could you possibly have a miscommunication with someone that you live with, for goodness sakes? Well, I don't even mean that to be funny, although it is funny. It happens all the time because it takes a great deal of effort, energy, and focus to truly communicate. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown of how to do this. Now, I am not going to tell you that I have a flawless record in communicating. I do not, because there are infinite numbers of variables that deal with communication and the communication process. And I often violate them in some way, shape, form, or another. And let's see here. Okay. So here is the feedback or the communication process. Now, here's what you need to know. As the sender has the responsibility to make sure they're understood. So where you start is two areas. Number one, what do I want the receiver or the intended recipient of the information or communication to understand, know, do, act upon, whatever. You determine the goals because you're the sender of the information. It's your responsibility. If they don't get it, now they may not be motivated to get it. They may have no incentive to get it. They could care less about getting it. The reason there are stupid rules where you work, but you say, why would there ever be a sign at a swimming pool that says, if you have diarrhea, you can't swim here? Why would anybody need to be told that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because somebody did it. And they said, well, here we go. We have to put a sign up. Just like in your lawnmower or on your lawnmower, there's a sign that says, don't put your hands under this, it'll cut your fingers off, or words to that effect. Why? Because some idiot stuck their hand under there when it was spinning or when it was on. Don't prove this to yourself. Just take my word for it. That's not a good idea. Happens all the time. So step one is, what do I want them to know, do, and so on. Step number two is understand your audience. Who's the receiver? If you're talking to kids, that's a different words and verb type of situation than it is to adults, seniors, juniors, whatever. If you're talking to senior citizens versus 20-year-olds or 20-somethings or 30-somethings. If you're trying to communicate to a non-technical person the benefits of a technical product, do you talk about gigahertz, throughput, up, down speeds, all the technical jargon? No, you speak in words that mean things to the receiver. Okay, then you choose, or you encode the message so they understand it. You choose the channel. Now, there's more channels available now for sure than when I was just fresh out of college. We pretty much had mail, snail mail, telephone, interoffice memos, which were handwritten, and that was it. Email was just kind of starting to get rolling. And then the noise part refers to distractions. But the choice is going to dictate, for better or worse, the richness of the media with which you're going to use. So if you're going to, this is why I'm using video, quite honestly, is because the media we have is online. You don't see me face to face. I have to make this, I have to use more tools to communicate than I would if this was a face-to-face course. Now, just between you and me, I do the same thing for a face-to-face course. I create this the exact same way. Why? Because it works well. I hope you don't prove me wrong on that, but I know you won't. Because you're paying attention. So it takes a motivated audience as well. But there's a tremendous amount of things vying for your attention. Now, I know none of you do this, but when you get an email from your boss, I know you read to the bottom, right? You read every word. If you don't, this is not a wise choice of your time. You're very wise to read the whole thing, because this is when people say, I didn't know. In our legalistic society, that's not going to cut it. What you didn't bother reading, it could come back to hurt you. So understand that there are distractions, and there are a multitude of them. The feedback then is, did they in fact, the receiver, do or understand what you want them to understand. This model has been used forever, but it's very practical, and it makes perfect sense. It takes constant diligence because the receiver and the noise in the channel changes. It's just like we're kind of in a post-literate generation where people don't read very much. They kind of skim. Now, I know none of you do this when you read the book and work on things. You read the directions all the way to the end. You check them off as you get different projects done that, hey, do I have all the elements asked and then some? Because you're a highly motivated individual and a highly motivated group. But understand your audience. Understand what you want them to know. Understand the limitations and the advantages of the channel you're going to use, and be persistent. Okay, read this chapter carefully. Make careful application.